1954 Atlantic hurricane season was an above-average Atlantic hurricane season in terms of named storms, with 16 forming. Overall, the season resulted in $751.6 million in damage, the most of any season at the time. Of the storms used in the thing. Why are there two Hurricane Alices, you ask? Well, that we will get to later. Developed on June 24th. Although there had been unnamed storms before this was the first named storm. Hurricane Alice, the original Hurricane Alice, developed rapidly, giving them citizens in southern Texas and northeastern Mexico little time to prepare. It reached peak winds of 112 before making landfall in northeastern Mexico. It left minor damage in Mexico. Across Texas, it left torrential rain, and with most of the rainfall concentrated around the Pecos River. The Pecos River, Ozona, Texas sustained the most impact, with 2.7 million in damage. Carol developed from a tropical wave near the Bahamas on August 25th. It quickly intensified and tracked to the north, becoming a hurricane on the 27th. Moving parallel to the coastline of the southeastern United States, it passed just east of Cape Hatteras. It intensified, striking eastern Long Island as a Category 3 hurricane. Carol made its final landfall on Ossabaw, Connecticut, late on August 31st. Within a couple weeks, it became the costliest natural disaster in Maine's history, only to be surpassed by Hurricane Edna 10 days later. Across New England, the hurricane destroyed about 4,000 homes, 3,500 cars, 30,000 boats. Damage totaled $4.60 million, and there were 60 deaths. In neighboring Canada, high rains caused flooding while strong winds downed trees and power lines. Pictures from Carol. As Hurricane Dahlia became extratropical, the tropical depression that later became Hurricane Edna developed east of the Lesser Antilles. It moved northward, dropping heavy rainfall on Puerto Rico as it moved north. On September 7th, it became a hurricane, and the next day it reached peak winds of 120 miles per hour. It turned north, bypassing the Outer Banks and striking Cape Cod. On September 11th, it struck Massachusetts as strong Category 2. The hurricane moved ashore near the border between Maine and New Brunswick. Early in duration, it perceived high seas and gale winds, force winds in the Bahamas, but there were no damage there. Hurricane force winds occurred in the Outer Banks, although damage was minor. As it passed New England, Edna produced a 6-foot storm surge during high tide, severe flooding in Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket and Cape Cod. Wind gusts peaked at 120 miles per hour on Martha's Vineyard, and the strong winds in the region left widespread power outages. The hurricane dropped additional heavy rainfall on areas affected by Carol, resulting in flooding in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. In Long Island and New England, the storm left over $42 million in damage, 20 deaths, only 11 days after Carol affected the same area. About a third of the damage occurred in Maine, becoming the costliest hurricane on record in the state. Hurricane force winds extended to Canada, causing $6 million in damage, 1954 Canadian dollars. Hurricane Hazel was the deadliest and second costliest hurricane in the season. The storm killed as many as 1,000 people in Haiti before striking the United States near the border between North and South Carolina as a Category 4 hurricane. After causing 95 fatalities in the U.S., it struck Canada as an extratropical storm, raising the death toll by 81 people, mostly in Toronto. Hazel formed on October 5th. Just east of the Windward Islands, and intensified into Category 1 while crossing the southeastern Caribbean. After making a hard turn northward, it rapidly intensified and approached Haiti, reaching Category 3 intensity before landfall. In Haiti, it destroyed 40% of the coffee trees and 50% of the cacao crop, affecting the economy for it fluctuated in intensity before making landfall as a Category 4 in the Carolinas, which destroyed much of the waterfront dwellings near its coordinate. It affected several more states, including Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, bringing gusts near 100 miles per hour and causing 3.308 million in damage. When Hazel arrived in Ontario, rivers and streams passing through the Greater Toronto area overflowed their banks, causing severe flooding. Residential areas located in floodplains, such as the Raymore Drive area, were subsequently converted to parkland. In Canada alone, over Canadian dollars 135 million, 2009, 1.1 billion of damage was incurred. Hazel was particularly destructive in Toronto. Of lack of experience in dealing with tropical storms and the storm's unexpected retention of power. Hazel had traveled 680 miles over land, but while approaching Canada, it merged with an existing powerful cold front. The storm stalled over the Greater Toronto area. Although it was now extratropical, it remained as powerful as a Category 1. To help with the cleanup, 800 members of the military were summoned, and the Hurricane Relief Fund distributed $5.1 million in aid. These are some public domain pictures from Hazel. Developed on September 30th from a trove of low pressure in the central Atlantic Ocean and an area of unusual favorable conditions. The storm moved southwestward and gradually strengthened to reach hurricane status. It persisted in the following calendar year, passing through the Leeward Island on January 2nd. Alice reached peak winds of 90 miles per hour before encountering cold air and turning to the southeast. It dissipated January 6th over the southeastern Caribbean Sea. Alice produced heavy rainfall and moderately strong winds across several islands along its path. Saba and Antigua. It's not Antigua, it's the other one that sounds like it, were affected the most, with total damage amounting to $623,500 in 1955 USD. Operationally, lack of definitive data prevented the U.S. Weather Bureau from declaring the system a hurricane until January 2nd. It received the name Alice in early 1955, though reanalysis of the system supported extending the track to the previous year, resulting in 2 cyclones of the same name in one season.